Hello, Archimedes123. This is a video response to your video on difficulty. This is pretty obvious, I assume. Now I'm just making this, to kind of counteract a couple points you made. I really enjoyed your video. I thought you had a lot of good things to say. However, there were a couple, parts that I didn't quite agree with, and I just wanted to go over them, in this video. So, the three big things that I disagreed with were, one, your stance on penalization and how we should penalize people for not doing very well in the game. Also, your separation of casual gamers from normal gamers as if they were not kind of a valid section of the gaming community. And finally, the separation of story from the rest of the game, as if it is not just a normal component, as if it's not a part of the game built in, as if it's separate. So first, penalization. Now your point was that penalization, especially in games like the old Mario's, they built up tension because of like the fear of the death. That when you're on your last life, it was very tense, which was kind of fun. It was exhilarating. However, I have to disagree because the fear wasn't of the death itself, but it was of how after you died, you would have to click continue, and then you would have to have a really boring, grindy replay through what might be a couple levels or the entire game. It varies wildly, but it's never fun to replay through that. It never adds anything to the game. You might say that they build up tension, but there are other more constructive ways than like making the experience kind of a slog and boring and slow. Now, for instance, one thing, this is just a quick idea, I'm not a game designer myself, but one thing you could do is for each level you would get a score, and after every time you die, instead of making it so eventually you'll have to replay levels, the score that you get for beating the level will go down. You'll need to do it quickly and well, and within like a certain amount of tries to get the full score, as opposed to playing it poorly. So that leads kind of into the next section, because this will allow people who might not be the most intensive gamers, might be casual gamers, new to gaming, it will make it more accessible, because they will still be able to, for most games, you pay $60. That is a lot of money. If you buy a full retail release, $60. That is a lot of money. That's a lot. That's almost like 2/3 of $100. That's like a significant part of your income, whether you're a teenager, which a lot of gamers are, or whether you're a fully grown adult. So that's still a lot of money to be spending on entertainment. And if you made it so it was prohibitively hard, and you don't get to access like most of what you paid all this money for, it makes it a little bit of a ripoff. It makes it so people who, just because they're not very good at video games, or maybe they're just getting started, maybe like it's their first game, maybe they're a child, it makes it so they don't get their money's worth. Now you say that it adds time to a game, which it certainly does. However, this time is not fun. It's not, I've already talked about this, it's not like a good time. You're not like, yeah, I get to replay through levels I've already done. You're like, oh, come on. What? It's not good. It does not add anything to the experience, or at least anything that couldn't be put in more productively. Also, finally, about the story. Towards the end, you do make the point that the story of a game, should be something that you can take away in the game and still be as engaging. You mentioned Uncharted, Gears of War, and you say that without the story, these games might not be as enjoyable. And what I say is, yeah, definitely. Especially for kind of a burgeoning medium that's starting to really come into its own when it comes to storytelling. The story should be important. If you do it right, it should be integrated into everything, and you should really feel the story. It should drive you. We talk about intensity. Maybe if you're playing a level, and you're really emotionally invested in the characters and what you're doing, that will drive you. That would be what makes you want to succeed. I feel like in the stories, it's such an important element, and it's not something that's like served. It's like you're not serving the gameplay as like peas, and then on the side, the story is mashed potatoes. You should be mixing that stuff up. You should be putting some butter, and you should be like stirring them, making a new recipe, just making it all integral. It's intertwined. It's a complete experience, and I think to make the story something that's separate is to take away from what video games can really be. And I understand that I come from a different mindset. My first video game console that I ever owned was the GameCube, so I really didn't experience the extremely challenging era, but I've gone back and I've played a lot of those games. And while I can appreciate how great, as you mentioned, Super Mario Bros. 3 is, it's a fantastic game, but it's grindy when you have to replay levels. It's a remnant of the coin-op era. It's brought over where it really shouldn't be, and it doesn't feel appropriate. I feel like, while yes, one must know his history when looking to move forward, there are also things that we need to be able to shed. Difficulty is important. It can be great. Super Meat Boy is a fantastic game, but you need to know how to make it bearable, and sometimes that means taking away from things like penalties. Sometimes that means being able to accept that the story is a big part of the game. Sometimes that means being able to include ways, like, for instance, in Mario Bros. Now, how eventually you can get the new suit that helps you beat the level you're stuck on, to include casual players. This is a new era in gaming, and I think while, yes, there is something lost in moving on from the NES hard era, I feel like there's so much to be gained from abandoning some of those old concepts. Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed your video. I subscribe after it. Good job. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're great. I just wanted to bring up some points.